Hey everybody, welcome back to The Truth. And today we're going to go over, like we usually do, we're going to go over college football. We're going to recap it. All right, we got Michigan versus Michigan State. Michigan's been dogging teams in the Big Ten. They've been riding it out. Give credit to them. Holy cow. I mean, they've been doing great. Give lots of credit to them. Ohio State versus Penn State. Close game. Not surprising it was close. Two really good teams. I gotta watch what I say here because some of the stuff I want to talk about is gonna be on. Some of the stuff I want to talk about is gonna be on when I rank teams. So sorry about that. Some of the stuff I rank it's gonna be some of the stuff I talk about is gonna be what I want to talk about ranking wise. So I need to watch what I say, but. Am I surprised that this happened? No. Am I disappointed by the score? A little. Just because you expect Ohio State to do a little better. Going on, we have Florida versus Duke. Duke was a team who's kind of team who just kind of hangs in there a little bit. I mean, at the first half, there were teams like, okay, this is going to be a really competitive game. Third quarter, no one really scored. And the fourth quarter was a complete shutout by Florida State. A little bit scary game for Florida State, but in the end, they come up with it. Arizona versus Washington. Really disappointing game by Washington. Michael Penix Jr. had 2 interceptions. I want to know why he had those 2 interceptions. But, man, oh, man. This was a disappointing game. Really disappointing game by the Washington offense. So, I'd like to see why this happened. But, for a team who's ranked 5th in the nation, you expect them to do better. And then the not necessarily polar opposite. Oh, yeah, I don't know why that happened. Not necessarily the polar opposite, but defensively, come on, Oklahoma. You got to separate. You got to get better separation. That's a game you don't want to be as close. You want to have a really good lead against UCF. And it's disappointing. Let's talk about this Houston game. Man, this was a close game down to it. There was a point where I thought Houston could have won it in the fourth quarter, but Texas come up fourth quarter clutch, and this is kind of been my problem with Texas. They've played games so close. They've done just enough in some games to win, and that's kind of disappointing. You'd want to see them do better and be more consistent, so that way, hey, because there's a chance, there's a very well good chance that they could be a one-loss team that slips into the top 4 playoffs this year. And Texas really isn't making a good showing for why they should be. That's my point. Oregon versus Washington State. Expected to be somewhat close. Not surprised that Oregon beat them by 14. But yeah, I'm not surprised by this. Washington State isn't a terrible team. Oregon's a really good team, and this is kind of what we expect. Our first upset that we're gonna cover this week. Man, oh man. Virginia upsetting North Carolina. I didn't watch this game. I have no idea what to expect from this game, but this sucks for North Carolina because you lose to a 2-5 team. I don't know if, because like I said, there's a very good chance that there will be a one-loss team that slips into the playoffs this year. I don't know if because of that loss, they'll be able to slip in. And that's kind of like, who's going to build the best profile at the end of the year to potentially, if there is a one-loss team to slip in, who's going to have the best profile? That's the big question. Tennessee versus Alabama. Good win by Alabama. This isn't a bad Tennessee team. That first half, Alabama did not want to play. But it was a totally second half team. And that's the thing that gets me nervous about Alabama, because I believe LSU has a bye week next week. And that LSU team, looks offensively looks dominant, really dominant. And I want to give a little bit of what I'm thinking going into that game because it is in a couple weeks. But it's just like I've been saying week after week after week. Is said team gonna be able to score enough points to keep up or beat LSU? And that's the question because LSU is gonna score a lot of points. I mean, they are like LSU is just that type of offense. And now their defense. That's the question: is like how many stops are you gonna allow that defense to get in your offense? Because all they need is a couple stops, and that's game. You gotta be sound, and that's like if Alabama did that to LSU, I don't know if they would. I don't know if they'd be able to keep up with that offense, and that's what kind of scares me for Alabama. I'd like to see. I don't know if they have a bye week this coming week, but I'd like to see them have a more polished game, a more full game going into that LSU game to give me confidence. But Ole Miss versus Auburn, I don't know how to feel about Ole Miss because Ole Miss could have easily lost this game. I mean, they could have easily won to overtime. It almost happened. And it's kind of like where is Ole Miss at this point? And then where is like the SEC is just crazy this year, guys. It really is. Because Auburn plays close with Ole Miss, close with Georgia, and then gets blown out by LSU. Like, where's the consistency? Like, where does it make sense? And that's the kind of question you're asking in the SEC. It's going to be interesting to see what Ole Miss does because I'm pretty sure they play Georgia later in the season. Are they going to be able to beat them? Like, if they drop another loss, they lose their lead. They will potentially lose their lead in the SEC. So it's going to be interesting to see. Each game matters in the SEC if you want to win it for those teams. Utah upsets you. Oh no, Utah doesn't upset. Utah beats USC. How should I say this? Disappointing. I mean, one the big problem is again and again and again I say this. It falls on Lincoln Riley not having a good defense. How many times do we have to talk about it? I mean, he just doesn't. Since Caleb Williams was I'm pretty sure a freshman at Oklahoma, the defense was bad. His first year at USC, the defense was bad. This year at USC, the defense is bad. At what point are USC fans going to get fed up with it? Because that's the reason you're losing these games. By all means, look, it wasn't a great game, but you put up more than 28 points. You put up 32 points. That's a winnable score. You should win with that score. But the defense is so bad, you can't do anything. Talking offensively, that second quarter and third quarter was lackluster. You want to see be able to put more points on the board. But props to Utah. Props to Utah for saying, we're not going to back down. We're going to go out swinging, and we're going to come up by 2 points. Props to them. Army versus LSU, this is what we expected. Like, let's not be surprised. Army just isn't that team, and LSU's offense is too good. So this is kind of what we're surprised. Enough said about that. Actually, let me go back. Brian Thompson Jr. and Malik Neighbors are an insane duo at LSU. That's all I want to say. All right, it's crazy. It's crazy that that's happening at LSU. South Carolina versus Missouri, not surprising. Not really surprising. South Carolina's been disappointing this year. Just because, like, you expected Spencer Rattler to do a lot better, and he just hasn't. That's been very, very disappointing. Air Force versus Navy, kind of what we expected. Air Force is undefeated. Navy isn't. Navy has multiple losses on them. So, I mean, that's going to be interesting. It's going to be really interesting to see where Air Force ranks. We're about to see it, but where Air Force ranks, just because, man, oh man, Air Force is that team. Air Force might be a team that ends up like TCU, but we'll see. They could be a team, and they'll probably get blown out the first round, but they deserve it, and we might have that conversation coming up. I think we should start thinking about it though, because it is later into the season. Air Force is 7-0. Tulane versus North Carolina. Defensively, very disappointing by Tulane. Very disappointing by Tulane. To let North Texas put up 21 and then put up another touchdown. Man, oh man. Offensively though, Tulane looks good. 6-1, that's pretty impressive. Minnesota versus Iowa. What happened this game? Like, defensive battle, I guess. Like, if you're Iowa, you've definitely you're no longer a top 25 team, and that's disappointing. Just because of what you're trying to build for Iowa. It is very disappointing, especially because you're trying to find the Big Ten. I feel like that kind of knocks you out of contention by only putting up 10 points. It's very disappointing, and your defense is great. Like, we can't hide that. The defense is great. UCLA dominating Stanford. Am I surprised? No. Am I surprised by how many points they scored? Yeah. I mean, look, they had a good full game. Like, they put up a lot of points. So give lots of credit to UCLA. Lots and lots of credit. Now we're going on to the rankings. We're going to look at the AP Top 25. Apologize. There we go. Sorry about that, guys. Going to week 9, they have AP Top 25. Georgia, number 1. Michigan, 2. Ohio, 3. Florida State, 4. Man, how do I say this without spoil? Because I don't want to spoil the rankings, but I don't mind these being the top 4 teams. I don't mind it. I actually don't mind that. Washington, a disappointing game, so I understand why they don't crack top 5. Oklahoma, also a disappointing game. I understand why they don't crack top 25. Texas, Oregon, Alabama, not surprised by. Penn State. I guess it makes sense because they lost, but it's still tough because they lost to the number 3 team in the nation. So it's like, how far do they really fall? Oregon, Ole Miss, Utah probably have Ole Miss over Oregon. I probably have Oregon State behind Utah. Notre Dame, how many times do we have to talk about it? Day in and day out. Do we really think Notre Dame's better than LSU? It's just that's the question we're really asking. It's like, personally, I don't think so. Leave it in the comments if you do. Missouri, then North Carolina. I'm kind of thinking here because it's a tough loss for North Carolina, but for Missouri, you win and you move on. Louisville moves up 3. Air Force moves up 3. Duke falls 4. Tennessee falls 4. That's what's like. I think you'd probably have Tennessee over Duke if I'm being all honest. Tulane 6-1, UCLA 5-2, USC 6-2, 22, 23, and 24. And then our sneaker of the week is what I'm gonna call it. The team who sneaks into the top 25 this week is James Madison. Let me know if you know where or who James Madison is, because I still don't. They're 7-0. What conference? Oh, they're in the Sun Belt Conference, actually. My main thing is what if James Madison, it's funny to think that that a team like Air Force or James Madison could make the college football playoffs, could be the 4 best ranked teams in the nation. It's funny, but it's kind of like they deserve it. And that's what I love about college football is like the teams who you don't expect who really shouldn't be there, but they took care of business are there and they're rewarded. And the good thing about James Madison is, and Air Force, if they do make it, just like TCU, they bring in recruits. People transfer over there. Are they going to have a great season next year? Probably not. But they built in more recruits to where they get better overall, and they're building something. They're regaining ammo and better quality ammo. So it's going to be interesting to see. But man, that's the overview of last week and college football rankings. Tell me what you think. Do you disagree on my thoughts on the teams who played? Do you disagree? What do you disagree with the rankings? Do you agree? Disagree? What are your viewpoints on it? Let me know. Let me know how this video was. Was it a good video? Are there things that should be better? Are there things you'd rather prefer me do? Let me know. Other than that, uh, other than that, I'll see y'all next time. And I hope y'all have a good rest of the day.